Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I believe this is episode number 8. I think this is 8. Yeah. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Becky. How are you doing?
I am great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you
Excited to
for
be here.
coming. Thank you for coming on. I'm very excited to speak with you. It's been some time. However, we're gonna make most of it and just share the stories. And really excited to just hear your perspectives. And guys, if you know someone that has traveled a lot, I don't know if it compares to this girl Becky because she's been everywhere and you're only 24, right?
Oh, 25, 25 now.
She just turned 25. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just turned. And she's been, I mean, countless countries and we'll get into that. So, Becky, let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about the
Sure.
story of Becky.
Well, first of all, again, thanks for having me. So,
Mm,
yeah, I am from Germany originally, born and raised, and I grew up in a very small village, all the way in the west of Germany at the border to Luxembourg. So, grew up here, went to high school here, and then in high school in 10th grade, I went to the States for a bit because I have family there as well. Lived there, went to high school there, and then when I went to college, it was half of it was in Germany, and then because it was a dual degree, I did a year abroad in Australia
mm,
and an internship in Tanzania, which was absolutely fantastic. And then after that, so I graduated from my undergrad, it was 2019, went to Lebanon for 6 months to study Arabic because I had Arabic in school, in university for a bit, so I wanted to get better at it. Went to
mm,
Lebanon, and right after Lebanon, I came to Israel, where we met,
mm.
and to do my master's in conflict resolution and mediation. So, and now, so after then COVID happened while we were in Israel, and then I left Israel a little bit early in summer last year and got a job in Dubai. So that's where I'm based now. Well, right now I'm in Germany visiting family for the holidays, but living in Dubai at the moment, working there. So
Mm.
yeah, that's long story short, I guess.
Yeah, long story. I guess what thousands of miles and plane rides and
Yeah.
continents all in there. So yeah, you had Australia, Israel, Tanzania, and US and Lebanon and Israel. I think
Yeah,
those were
and
like the main spots where you
yes,
spent more than, let's say, a week. Right now, like just visiting,
yes,
because there
yes,
were other
exactly.
spots you.
Dubai.
Yeah, so maybe if you can even run that down, you went to, I think, on top of that, 30 other countries, maybe 35, 40.
50
Oh,
something.
what?
I
50.
think it's like 54, 55 now. Yeah. Trying to
Oh
get
my
that
god.
map covered.
No, get the map covered. I mean, I think, yeah, your average is what now? 2 a year? I think it's about 2 a
Yeah,
year. A little bit.
probably.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible because in the States, there are some people who don't even who have the resources, but they don't either have a passport or
Yeah,
the desire to want to go out. So I think maybe that's
that's
something
true.
we can touch on for you. What was maybe the desire or the incentive or what spurred and created the curiosity for you to be such a globetrotter
Mm.
and to have visited so many countries at only 25?
Well, first of all, it's a lot easier in Europe to
Mm,
visit a lot of countries because, like I said, I live at the border to Luxembourg, and it takes me like 2, 3 hours by car to go to 4 different countries, pretty
mm,
much. So it's a lot easier than in the States.
mm,
But yeah, so I don't know. My parents always traveled a lot. So when I was a kid, we always traveled. So I got lucky in that department. So from a young age, we were just going everywhere, and that kind of how this started. And then we had family, like I said, in the States, so we visited
mm,
them. Yeah, and then in my undergrad, I actually studied tourism management, so kind of makes sense, I guess.
mm,
Um, yeah, and I've just always been fascinated with other countries, other cultures, and getting to know the people from everywhere. And that's why I wanted to go to Tanzania for my internship. I could have done it anywhere in the world or even back home in Germany, but I
ah,
really wanted to experience something completely different. So I don't
mm.
know, I've always been fascinated with it. So I don't know where exactly it comes from, but I guess because we've always been such an open household and traveled so much. So
I mean, it seems it could be in your genes at this point. I mean,
yeah.
really. I mean, it seems what it's coming down to. But yeah, just the idea of being an open household and finding ways to just to like learn more about culture dynamics. And for me, well, sometimes I look at it like I didn't choose where to be born. So for me, I find it's such an imperative to just go out there and like you to see what else is going on and what else is out
Yeah.
there. The 20, I mean, that's all right. I really thought you were at maybe 40, but 53, 54, 55.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's definitely got to do some catching up. So with all that, with all this traveling, you spent the time in Israel that we were there together.
Yeah.
That's where we're studying, and then you mentioned now you're in Dubai, but you were studying tourism management. And then even now, how does it change? Like, are you still doing tourism management? Where do you see those experiences, and even given the current landscape of the world, playing into a part of what you're going to do now with your time, aka your
Mhm.
career?
Well, I work for it's a German company, but based in Dubai, and so I work in marketing and research, and it is actually a tourism consultancy
Hmm.
company. That's how I would best describe it. So it's definitely more focused on what I did in my undergrad, not so much on what I did in or what we did in Tel Aviv.
Mm.
Um, because like last year when we came back from Israel and I started applying for jobs in the field of our masters, it was very difficult to find because it was like at the height of COVID. It was
Yep.
impossible. And
Yep.
I got this opportunity, and of course, I studied it in my undergrad. It really interested me. So I was like, I'm going to take this. It
Mm.
sounds amazing. And so, yeah, I'm actually doing pretty much what I studied in my undergrad right now at work as well. Um,
Mm.
and it's been really interesting, especially considering what's been going on with COVID and like in the tourism industry and how that plays into work. So it's been a wild ride so far.
No, for sure. And seeing, I mean, just I'm on Instagram, and the amount of people who have just been flocking to Dubai to just live and
Yeah.
vacation. I mean, what does it look like for you? Just yeah, really, so many people coming in, and are you working with them directly to manage their experience? Are you helping create something with tourism?
Yeah, no, so it's really kind of just a consultancy, and it's mainly based on or focused on like loyalty programs and mileage
Mm, mm,
accrual. So
mhm,
really on that kind of like how, for example, how to yeah how to get a good status with hotels or like fly first class using miles and like only paying the 50% of the original price, like that kind of stuff. So it's not really,
mm,
we don't really organize trips within like Dubai or anywhere. It's really just consulting people who want to,
mm.
yeah,
Right.
kind of get a better trip for less, I suppose.
Right. So
Yeah.
listeners, you hear that? Becky's gonna hook us up with a way to maximize our experience in Dubai because it's notoriously
Yeah.
quite expensive. So I
Yeah.
mean, Becky, you're gonna get a lot of messages, and I'm gonna contact you after. Say, hey, help me out, come on. Oh, that's
Yeah.
exciting. You're finding ways to maximize their experience, and especially with COVID and just other dynamics at play, you go into a
Yeah.
different country, and for you, you know all about this. But people who are going to new country and know of the experience, they could get blindsided and just really have no idea what's going on and get terrible and horrendous deals and really just get swindled. So with someone like you who's helping that out, not a guarantee, but it helps facilitate
Yeah.
much smoother experience, but much smoother. So would you say this is part of your, this would overlie with your, like, your passion and hobby? Is it more because as we knew each other, you're definitely incredibly well versed in political dynamics and culture in so many different fields. So there's the traveling aspect of you. There's
Mm.
this being incredibly informed aspect of you. There's so many different dynamics to Becky. Out of these, I mean, are they all interwoven with passions and hobbies, or is it more so the traveling and the other ones a whole separate thing?
And I think it all kind of goes together. Like you said, like I have these two big passions when it comes to, I guess, to my work life.
Mm,
One is the travel or tourism part and
mm,
exploring these places and with work and like personal traveling everywhere, I guess. And then the like political aspect, and that's why I did this master's degree in Tel Aviv as well. And I'm actually volunteering online as well for a couple organizations that
mm,
focus on like human rights and especially gender equality and that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to do both. And it's, I don't know, I feel like if it's your passion and you really like doing it
mm,
at work, it kind of becomes a hobby as well. So
mm,
I like what
mm,
I'm doing both at work and with the volunteer work. So I don't know, it's
mm.
a
Yeah, no,
hobby
definitely.
and
Yeah.
work, I guess.
Oh, so with a hobby and work. No, definitely I've seen you at least on LinkedIn again, just dropping a bunch of links and outlets right now. Yeah, it's I think it's about every other month. Becky completes another certification or did another course or did something like that. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wow, man, and here I am walking the corgis, and oh man, what's going on here? No,
I mean,
it's
like
incredible.
with all of it being online, it's quite easy. And a lot of the courses that I did, like they weren't too long, so it wasn't like I was
Mm,
sitting there 4 hours every night, work like after work. They were pretty short but super interesting. So I was like, why not? I have the time. I can
mm,
spend that time. I don't know, looking through Instagram videos, or I could do this. So like,
mm.
why not?
Yeah, no. So is that more? I mean, it is a conscious decision you're making, but so many people know that they should do that, but they don't do that, right? Just the mindless scroll through Instagram or social media or a news feed of any sort for 3 4 hours, and then they go to sleep and they didn't really gain anything. But what you're
Yeah.
saying is you're in a similar position, but you managed to change your focus. How are you able to change your focus, and do you just find the utility of changing, or what does that
Well,
look like?
sometimes like I go down the Instagram, YouTube rabbit
Oh
hole
no,
like
oh
a
no,
lot as well, but I
oh,
don't know. Then when it comes to this, like I'm just super interested in these different topics and like passionate about it, and I know that eventually I want to shift my career towards this like full time again. So I'm like I want to prepare, I guess, and
mm,
get the most out of it to like know what I'm talking about eventually.
yes, yes, yes,
So yeah,
yes.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm just in bed, like yeah, going through Instagram like everyone else. So
Yeah, nothing too crazy, and there
yeah,
is maybe from what I perceive a difference typically with the rabbit hole on Instagram and YouTube. I mean, Instagram seems to be more of we're selectively choosing kind of what we see a little more and who we're
yeah,
following and stuff like that, and we can really get deep down. And with YouTube, I mean, having it be a video, it sort of pulls you in more, and then
yeah,
you get into some really spooky or exciting stuff. Like you could look
yeah,
at video of a corgi. I'm saying corgis a lot because we have two of them. You can see
yeah.
videos of corgis playing in a park, and then you end up with something about a vaccine and the Earth being flat,
I
and
know.
your neighbor being an actual witch who only has one leg and five eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy sometimes what you come across online. That's true.
It's really spooky. It's really spooky. But yeah,
Yeah,
like making that conscious effort. And that's something that
yeah,
we kind of try to focus on, at least on this podcast, is how do we use our time intentionally and try to find ways to better ourselves, not just
mm,
physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, relationally, all different areas. Because there is so much noise and so much, I don't want to say garbage, but more fluff and not really a lot of
yeah.
substance, at least
True,
with what we're saying. Within
true.
this, you're able, I mean, look, there's been a lot of successes in the young life of Miss Becky. Now, I got to know though. I mean, maybe we haven't shared
Okay.
this one on one, but talk to me about
Okay.
some. We don't want maybe not failures, but sure failures or lessons learned, or just an incident, an instance for you that really
Hmm.
stands out.
Thinking about something that really stands out. I don't know. There've probably been a bunch, and
Okay.
um, I mean, we all fail at one point, and we all make mistakes. Like, even though if I can't come up with a proper, really good example right now, there've been a bunch, and it's
Mm,
just I don't know. You learn out of every mistake you make, and
mm,
out of every failure. And even though sometimes I don't know, it feels like the worst thing possible and the worst thing in the world, and nothing's going to make it better ever. Like if you look back on it, you probably learned something really great from it, and
hmm
obviously you got out of it, and it got you where you are right now.
mm,
So I don't know. I mean, I'm a person. When I fail, I like put myself down a lot, and like
mm,
I put a lot of pressure on myself. So and then sometimes I'm like, I have to tell myself, look, you've gotten through things, and you've gotten like you came out of it, and it'll be all right. Like don't focus too much
mm,
on the failure itself, and look what you can get from it, I guess.
mm. Okay. So
So
like not focusing so much on the failure and just that incident, but more so trying to be kind of proactive and what you can learn from it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's that's interesting because I did learn or I did listen to this video series I'm working on, and what the person asked us is for ourselves, what how do we define success and failure, right?
Yeah,
And so he had us define it in the past, how we would define it, and then create sort of new definitions. And
yeah,
Yeah, because it's how we value success and or how we go about it.
I mean, as an example, like, I mean, it's I guess a minor thing, but
Sure.
last year when we came back from Israel and I started applying for jobs, you could see it as a failure that like I applied to so many jobs in like the field of conflict resolution, human
Mm.
rights, and I didn't get anything. And you could see that as a failure, but out of that came that I got this great opportunity to go to Dubai and get a job here, which
Mm.
I wouldn't have gotten. First of all, I probably wouldn't have gotten this opportunity if COVID hadn't happened and if I had gone home early from Israel. And had I gotten another job, I wouldn't have been able to get the experience that I have now. So
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
know. There are good things and bad things and like failures and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, sort of. It depends how the consequences, I guess, turn out. And the way I
yeah,
always see it too is, I mean, what if the consequences turned out worse too? You know what I mean?
okay,
It's saying like, oh yeah, but that could have happened. Yeah, but it can still get bad. What are we talking about? Like,
yeah,
definitely on that sense. And it's like to take away, what do we learn from what do we do? You're able to be in Dubai because that didn't work out, and instead of the idea that, oh, like all this is happening to Becky, all
yeah,
this is happening for Becky,
yeah,
and it's not just telling yourself a mantra or some aphorisms to make yourself feel good. It's you're changing your focus, and when you change your focus, you change what you take steps towards and actions towards, and you're
exactly.
finding the beauty in this, which is excellent. And as a side note, I've definitely been in the same spot post graduating and with COVID. Wow,
Yeah,
job
it's
market
been
was
tough.
tough. Job market was
Yeah,
tough. Was
for
quite tough.
sure.
Yeah. And how do you get through it? I mean, yeah, just like you're saying, gotta just stay after it and then view maybe the consequence or the end result as, I don't know about being necessary, but being part of that process. Because now you're in
Yeah,
Dubai and you're doing what you love, and I'm sure you're using conflict in some capacity, like your studies.
yeah.
Yeah. So then we got to get to this next part, which I'm quite excited for. I'm excited for the next two, really, but
Oh God.
oh no. Well, here we go. Here we go. Well, with yourself, I don't know. Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker? What do you do?
Right now more tea, but it keeps on switching. Sometimes it's coffee all day, every day, and then right
Mm,
now it's tea. So I'm good with
okay.
both.
Does it depend where you're living, what the country is,
Not really. I
what
don't
side of the
know.
hemisphere you're on?
Sometimes I'm like, I'm tired all day. I guess it is coffee now. And then
Mm,
I'm like, maybe too much coffee again. And then I switch back to tea.
okay. Is there a third option? I don't want to make this
Hot
binary.
chocolate.
Ah, see,
That's the
oh
all-time
man.
favorite.
Well, look, hot chocolate. Oof, we get some marshmallows in there. Oh my god. I mean, that's just like growing up. We would have that, just of course around Christmas time, but specifically in the winter. So great. You get those little packets, and then you just you shake it and pour it in. Oof. So then let's do this then with hot chocolate.
Okay.
If you could, any
hmm
historical figure that has ever been in existence, if you were able to have hot chocolate with a historical figure, we can make
That's
it.
a
We can make it a couple, but try to aim for one that really just pulls Becky.
yeah.
Who would you choose?
And
What would you talk about?
there's so many really interesting people in history that I would love to have a chat with. But
Mm.
when I saw that question, one person I thought about might be because I just started volunteering for an organization who got their name from him is Alan Turing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you know who he is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Alan
yeah.
Turing. Yeah, exactly. So
The breaker machine, and yeah.
yeah, exactly. He was a computer scientist or
Yes.
mathematician during World War II, and he was like big, or his work was a big reason they were able to break the Enigma codes that
Yes.
the
That's
Nazis
right.
used.
Mhm.
And they say that he or his work shortened like World War II by around 2 years, and he saved millions of lives. And
Mm.
then in I think it was like 1952 or something. So shortly after the war, he was arrested and prosecuted for being gay, and he got like they told him, okay, prison or probation, and he chose probation, but part of that meant chemical castration,
Mm.
and he died at the age of 41 due to cyanide poisoning. And it's like people debate whether it was suicide or an accident, but I mean the way he was treated after saving I don't know how many millions of lives,
Mm.
just because of who he loved is just insane. And I mean,
Hmm.
there was a movie with Benedict Cumberbatch about him as
Yeah,
well a couple years
excellent
ago.
movie. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So he's probably one of the people that I'm really interested in, and I would love to have a chat with him. He's yeah,
What are some questions you would want to ask him? Like how was he able to persevere, push through?
yeah, pretty
What
much
would you
like
ask him?
how he was able to, yeah, or if he ever would forgive the government for the way they treated him,
Hmm.
just for who he was, I guess, even though he saved so many people, and how he was able to pull through. I don't
Hmm.
know. He's just
Hmm.
fascinating.
Would you say he would be able to forgive them?
I don't know. I mean,
It's
would
kind of tough
you?
one. Well,
I
yeah, I
guess I would.
mean,
I guess
yeah,
I would try to, but then, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, definitely everyone's different. I think it depends on your philosophy. And
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I guess we don't know too much about his actual character. I mean, I watched the
yeah,
movie as well, and they were trying to depict it. And yeah, I mean, in your perspective, do they show a lot of his character? I mean, he was more, what's the way to say it? Not resolute, but he was kind of more to himself. He was very like
yeah,
focused on his work, and there were just so many different components to him. But regardless
yeah,
of if you would forgive them or not, uh, which is so crucial, it's also, yeah, how do you live with that after you did so much incredible life saving work, shortening the war by 2 years, millions of lives, and then you're still in the system that is basically just going crazy, and is like,
yeah.
wait, you like them? No, 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 no.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the chemical castration, I actually didn't even remember that part. That happened.
Yeah,
Wow.
he had to. He was forced to take like or do like a hormone therapy.
Hmm.
That like yeah, he lost his libido and yeah. Um.
So it was the you said chemical castration, yes?
Yes, yes, that's how
Yeah.
it's called. Like if you have
And
to
it was
use
to change the hormones to make
it's
his
to kind
libido
of
less.
reduce
Yeah.
his sex drive, I guess, and apparently it also make him like start growing like breast tissue a little bit because of the hormone
Wow.
therapy. Yeah,
Huh.
so it was like a full on mess, I guess. But yeah,
Oh my
they
goodness.
just thought, I
And
guess they just
yeah.
thought it would change him. Yeah, change his sexuality. I don't know.
And he was British, right?
Yes,
Wow. So you think he would do hot chocolate with you, or he'd want tea?
probably tea.
Oof.
I'm good
Okay.
with tea.
So okay, you find tea. Okay, great. Well, no, that's excellent. And Alan Turing, if you haven't, well, I mean, if you haven't watched the film with Benedict Cumberbatch, I mean, first he's just a great actor. That guy,
Yeah,
he's so great, and just the way that they created the film and the history, and even after I was reading a little bit about it, it's quite accurate with, well, to the point that they try to make it.
yeah.
But Alan Turing, okay, hmm,
No.
definitely will have that noted. So I mean, of course, we recommended the Alan Turing, well, the movie, The
Oh,
Enigma
that's
Code,
good. Good. Yeah.
but with what about some of the other areas with books, movies that you've watched and that you've experienced that for you are really in alignment with Becky and
Yeah.
how you sort of perceive the world?
So the book I'm reading right now, or rereading right now, actually, is I love it so much. It's called Invisible Women,
Hmm.
and it's on the. It has a longer title, Invisible Women: Exposing Data Bias, something something. I forgot, but it's about the data bias and the or data gap.
You're
In
saying data, yes?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So, which then influences gender inequality, like
Hmm.
how missing data on like throughout history in science, in everything pretty much affects gender and gender inequality in society. And it's so interesting. It's really fascinating. Like some of the things like about, like because society is structured or built in a certain way, where inequalities are, but then some things you don't even think about that are written about
Hmm.
in this book, and you're just like, really,
Oh
really,
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
What's
it's
going on?
healthcare and it's
Hmm.
crazy, yeah. So
Hmm.
this is one of the books that I would really recommend to people who kind of don't believe that there is an issue or that there is gender inequality. That's probably
Invisible women.
it's called Invisible Women, yeah,
Women.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll
It's
add that
by
down.
Caroline Criado Perez is her name.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
definitely
really
we'll add.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Would there be a book, let's say, maybe from not antiquity, but more classic or something like from past maybe 20, 30 years that resonates or like expanding your mind, something like that?
Well, yeah, so many books. Well, actually, your talk with Elon,
Oh,
Sapiens. I
oh
didn't even think
man.
about that book. Like, and also he mentioned 1984. That's a
Oof.
fantastic book. But Sapiens
1984.
is,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Sapiens is, yeah, just,
it's really good.
I
And
mean, yeah.
actually, the book we read back in Tel Aviv in our group dynamics course, The Becoming Evil.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
such a
Oof.
great book as well.
Oof.
Yeah,
Man. Okay. So Becoming Evil, in 1984 and Sapiens, as well as
yeah,
Invisible Women. Yeah.
yeah. So
And
many books.
what's
I love books.
no, I mean,
Wait, wait.
they're the gateway to the past and the future, and
Yeah.
it's everything. And with *Sapiens*, I mean, for me, that's also one of my favorite books, just because when I read it, I mean, I read that book feeling like I knew nothing about history, about philosophy, about culture, about really the world, aside from what I learned in school. And that book was like a crash course to life. I mean, in a sense of everything like from Homo sapiens to religions and different forms of political ideologies. For
Mhm.
you, saying that it's one of the ones you resonate the most with, what were a couple takeaways that you took from that that just really shifted your perspective? Because for me, there's about 10. I mean, I've read
All
this
of
book
them.
2 or 3 times. Yeah,
Yeah, all of them. Everything in
there's
this
so
book is
many,
like
right?
like you said, you read
Oh.
it and you're just like, what do I even know about life anymore?
Yeah, no, what's really nice too is they actually made a graphic novel. I don't know if you've seen that. It's been
Oh
promoted.
no, I haven't.
Oh no! Oh, do I have the books here? Are they? Yeah, they're somewhere in. Oh, there. Yeah, it's basically he divided *Sapiens* into 4 parts, and
Okay.
they come out once every year, and it's basically the book just with cartoons.
Oh, that's
And
really
yeah,
cool.
and he says that it's actually more difficult to write it because when you're writing purely text, you can be ambiguous with descriptions, right? So you could say, oh, let's say, uh, you know, a mother and a daughter, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, when you draw them, how tall do you make the mother? What color do you make her skin? Does she have any patches on her body? How is she wearing her
Hmm.
clothes? And all that stuff actually plays a part. So
Yeah.
in a way, it's actually kind of even more impressive, the cartoon version. So
I'll
definitely,
definitely have to check that out. I didn't know
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's *Sapiens*, a graphic novel. The first 2 parts are out, and it takes so long to write or to draw at least the cartoon, so it'll be completed within
Yeah.
2 years, but yeah, definitely, Becky, if you haven't, hop on that ASAP.
Will do. Will do for
It's
sure.
incredible. So we have
Yeah.
the books down, incredible
Hmm.
books. There's a Woman, 1984, *Sapiens*, and then one other one I just lost off the tip of my tongue.
The
Um,
Becoming Evil that we
oh,
read in
*Becoming
class.
Evil*. Yes, yes, right.
Also a great book.
*Becoming Evil*. Now, that's through the medium of books, and I don't know if you're as avid a moviegoer as you are a book reader, but which ones have stuck with you or recently, and which ones do you recommend?
Um, well, I'm a big Disney nerd, so generally
Oh,
all Disney movies, like Lion King, best movie, best soundtrack ever made.
that's insane. That movie's
um,
so great.
it's so good, and also I have fantasy Harry Potter movies as good as the
Mm,
books, which is
mm,
difficult.
mm,
But then I'm also I really enjoy, or sometimes at least enjoy watching movies or historic movies, whether they're fiction or based on a true story, like especially around World War II, like history,
mm,
super
mm.
fascinating. And you have got like Schindler's List or The
Oh
Boy in the
my
Striped Pajamas.
goodness.
They're
Oh,
such good movies, even though
wow.
they make me cry every single time, but
Wow,
they're so
Schindler's
good.
List.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Let me ask you, when did you watch The Boy with the Striped Pajamas?
I
Was
was
that part of the school curriculum, or it was just
it was very intense because it was a time when I was in the States for high school, which was 10th grade, and
oh,
we
wow.
had a Holocaust survivor at the school, and we watched the movie in the theater at school, like on the big screen, and it was really intense.
Ooh,
Yeah,
they showed you that in 10th grade. Hmm.
yeah, it was 10th grade, and it was kind of a little bit odd because I was like the only German exchange student in school. So after that, everyone kind of also bombarded me with questions about like
Oh my, wait,
everything,
hold
and
on,
I'm
hold
like,
on.
I can't really tell you that much,
Wait, wait,
but
wait, wait. So
yeah.
this is something we got to dive into if you're all right with it. So you're there, and then being the only German student. I mean, what are they? And for people who don't know where in the states you were, what state were you in?
I was in Connecticut, so
Connecticut.
East
Okay,
Coast.
so
Yeah.
tri-state, Northeast, pretty mixed politically, but more left leaning. So in 10th grade, they watch this film, Striped Pajamas. There's a Holocaust survivor, and people view you saying, "Oh, there's a German in our class." What are some of the questions or I mean, that must have just been a very unique experience.
It was for sure. I mean, honestly, I mean, some of the questions were really sincere, and they just wanted to know how we learned about it in school,
Mm.
and what we like, how we talk about our history, compared to like other countries. And like, for example, we go to, or most schools at one point during high school, we go visit a concentration camp
Wow,
as
you
part of
do.
our history class. Yeah, and it's like talked about like every year in history. There's some part that deals with World War II, so we really talk about it a lot. And then in the States, so they ask about this, which I thought was really good. But then some of the questions, really thought like, do they really do a lot of world history, or is it pretty much focused only on American history?
Well, you're saying
Because
that you're saying within the program in Connecticut that they
yeah, it was in
focus
high
was
school.
on
Like
that.
some of the
Mm,
questions, it was just. I mean, obviously you can't know everything about the history all across the world, but some of the
mm,
questions I wasn't really sure if they meant it or if it was a joke.
mm.
Um, but like
Wow.
they still ask questions. For example, in school, if we have a like today, if there are problems with Jewish students and that
Mm.
kind of stuff, which I mean, I get where people are coming from, but it's also a little bit strange. Like I was in 10th grade and people were asking me, like I came to class one day and there was this free seat and someone was asking me, "Oh, is it all right for you to sit there?" And I was like,
Wait,
"Why not?"
there was a what? A precis?
There was a free seat. So I
Oh, a
sat
free
there and
seat.
people were
Okay, yeah,
asking me like, "Is it
yeah.
okay for you to sit there?" And I was like, "Well, why not?" And they were like, "Well, the girl next to you is Jewish." And I wasn't
What?
sure if they were serious.
Oh my,
I mean, it's
that's
10th grade. They might
incredible.
have like been joking, but they
Right.
said it so like serious. I was like, I don't know what to say now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it was really interesting. But overall, they were just really interested in kind of how we deal with our history and how we kind of work through it in school. So it
Mm.
was, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I remember. Well, there's so many different directions to go with this one. Just I guess first when we had watched The Boy with the Striped Pajamas, much younger than you guys actually. So we watched it. Well, I guess at least in Connecticut. In New Jersey, we watched that film, I believe, in the eighth grade. And I
yeah,
remember so vividly. I mean, of course, it's just such an intense movie. Beautiful, but also so sad. I mean, more sad than beautiful for sure. And there was a part, we had watched in our classroom, but only like 30 people in the classrooms instead of one big
mhm,
screen. Or I don't
yeah,
know if that's how it went for you guys. And towards the end of it, there was a student who I remember very well. He was laughing, right? Laughing. And being people were shocked at this guy.
yeah,
And from how I understood it, it wasn't more so laughing like, "Oh, I'm happy this happened." It was more so laughing as a response to a perceived trauma or something so intense that was how this person
yeah,
coped with
yeah.
that
I feel like
incident.
it's like a defense or like a mechanism to kind
Yes,
of deal with something like that because it's just
absolutely.
so inhumane and so
It's
like
just sick.
you can't
Yes,
really fathom what happened there, and you
right,
just kind of have to try to deal with it somehow.
right. And
Yeah,
well, I'll tell you this: this person got a lot of flack, and I mean, look, I'm speaking about it. What eighth grade, like 10 years later, and I still remember it so vividly. He left, and
yeah,
then people were telling the teachers like, "Oh my gosh, this guy was laughing, so and so." So that in itself is, yeah, just so
yeah,
vivid, and like you're saying, it really brings to light, of course, the atrocities, but then for yourself, having students come up to you and ask you questions like that, so different. Because like, what is it your fault? Like, what are we doing? Like, it's so
yeah,
odd, the thought process
yeah.
of how they really get there. The other point I wanted to touch on was I also remember asking you similar questions as well, not to the extent that your classmates
Yeah,
were, but when we were in Israel at Mossad, we were going down
yeah,
the hike. I'm like, Becky, how do you guys learn about this? Right?
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just for me, it's just fascinating because when you're a part of, or I guess the maybe legacy, or maybe
Hmm.
the future kind of something that was so incredibly medieval. For me, I'm always so curious, like, what are they teaching you? Because as we know, in each country, history is totally different in each country. You try to remain the
Yeah.
same. So yeah, just absolutely fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I get it why people ask, and I mean, I'm super curious about it as well. Like when my grandparents were still alive, like, we asked them questions like, "How was it living during that time?" Like, I mean,
Oh wow.
they were really young kids, but
Yeah.
still, it was like, how was it? Like, what were your experiences? I'm always very interested in talking to people about it because I also think that even I like when people ask questions as long as they're not super
Yeah.
strange, I guess.
Mm,
But because I think it's important that people learn about it because sometimes I feel like, especially now, if you look at the political landscape, even here in Germany, with like right wing parties gaining
mm,
popularity, I feel like people or humans are just so easy to forget. Like they forget everything and they don't really learn. So I feel like talk about it and educate yourself and learn about it.
mm. Oh man, so many directions we can go here. Wow. No, it's so right. Yeah, I mean, with, let's say, even educating yourself and learning about history and stuff like that, for me, I guess just a quick little side note is the past couple weeks I've just been working like really nonstop, from like basically 8 in the morning to like 10 at night. I'm just doing a bunch of stuff, and I haven't really been investing in, let's say, reading about culture, history, politics. I'm
Mhm.
so unaware of what's happening for the past 3 weeks. I just got into my bubble. The difference, though, is that prior to that, for about 2 years, I went fully intense and was reading up about a lot of it. And even now, I'm gonna find my way to work it back into my everyday, let's say, curriculum, or just everyday activity. Now, what worries me is, for me, that's a temporary spot I'm in. However, I'm gonna go back to that, and I have a desire to learn and educate. For other people, they basically learn about history or culture, politics, whatever, up until maybe 18, and then after that, they just don't want to, like, they just don't care, right? And
Exactly.
then they tend to forget. Like, you can know it, but then if you're not really remembering, you're forgetting. And then they'll watch the news and follow one news outlet or one influencer of sorts, and then just get all their information from them. So then these
Exactly. Yeah.
people, who really don't have the wherewithal to understand the value of that, it's like you're saying, they're not learning history, or they're not learning this, and they're going to be much more inclined not to repeat it, but to overlook what's happening. And like you're saying, right wing tendencies in Europe and other places. I mean, how do you see an effective way, maybe for someone who's listening, who wants to stay informed and senses that they're too busy and
Mhm.
that there's not as much value from learning any of that, when they could be just making more money, or they have to focus on what's immediate in their life?
Uh, Actually, that kind of leads me a little bit to the third thing I see here on the screen, the podcasts,
Oh, sure.
because so first of all, like if you don't have time to like watch the news or something about history, like talk to people who like lived through it. Like if you like
Mm,
talking to my grandparents was the best thing I did, like when it came to history, or even to my parents, like considering the German unification. My parents were adults or young adults then. Like they lived through very important parts of history or German history, I guess. But then, yeah, podcasts. I listen to
mm,
so many podcasts, and if you
mm,
don't have time to read the news or watch the news, if you go to the gym, you can listen to a podcast instead
mm,
of the Spotify playlist. Or if you're going grocery shopping or something, like podcasts, you just have much more opportunity
mm,
to listen to them. And there's so many great like news podcasts as well, and some long ones that go over an hour or so. But if you only have 15 minutes, so many of the news podcasts, they have like a compact kind of version of the daily news. Just everyone has 15 minutes a day.
yeah, everyone's got that. Come on.
Yeah.
Everyone's
So
got that. Yeah.
yeah.
No, and a nice little technique. I mean, I do this maybe way too frequently. Is when you listen to a podcast, or if you're watching something with video, 1.5 or 2 times speed. I mean, I live on the 2 times speed. I live
Yeah.
there. For me, I talk quite fast and I can also listen quite quickly, if
Yeah.
that's even a thing. But just finding ways to do that. And like you're saying, maybe not dead time, but where you're doing a task that's not really doesn't demand a lot of cognitive function. Let's say washing
Yeah.
the dishes or anything, just very common that you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
exactly.
yeah, no, for me, it's just such a worry, and even on the podcast front too, it's also figuring out what source, be aware of, listen to, and actually use, right? Because if you're using I'll just use the example of in the States. Let's say if you just listen to NBC, you're gonna be quite far on the left, and if you
Yeah.
listen to Fox News, you're gonna be quite far on the right, and, for me, when I am listening to these, I listen to both 100%. I
Hmm.
I make an effort to diversify it. But then, Becky, let me ask you though, if you, for like a common theme in this podcast, we talk about identity and how the strongest need in the human personality is to remain consistent with the identity we have with ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Now, what happens is when we're on listening to a podcast or watching a video or having a conversation, when the person says something that's challenging to what we believe, automatically we bunker down. We just
Yeah.
want to be in our spot. But when people are saying what we believe, it reinforces and gets very cyclical. So
Hmm.
with people, I wonder what you would think about this for people who don't see the incentive to, let's say, break an echo chamber, which echo chamber, it's this spot that you're in and it's a chamber, which means it's closed off and the echoes, you just keep hearing the information. What would you say to someone who wants or who doesn't want to maybe break through that or doesn't see the value and listening to different views or getting podcasts with different opinions?
I don't know. I think it's just you can always learn from other people and their opinions, and you can, as long as the discussion is, like, even if you meet in person and you have a polite, argumentative discussion, like based
Yes.
on valid arguments and not just your personal, like, emotions. I mean, emotions are important and good sometimes in discussions as well, but generally,
Mm,
if you most times people have more in common than they think, I guess. I mean,
mm,
there are
mhm,
some aspects when it comes to different opinions or different worldviews where also I kind of draw the line when it comes to specific, like, basic human rights, and like those are just not up for debate. I think, like, if people
mm,
say, oh, those people just don't deserve to be here, or um for example, trans lives don't matter, or that kind of
mm.
stuff,
Right.
that's where I'm like,
Mm,
that's not up for debate.
mm,
But then when it comes to certain political views, you can disagree respectfully and you can listen to the opinions of the other person, and maybe you'll find
mm,
something valuable in that that you can learn from. Or
mm,
maybe if you have that discussion, and if you know where the other person is coming from through listening to, I don't know, I'm very left wing, I
mm,
guess. So if I listen to more right wing news and I understand where they're coming from, my arguments in a discussion with a person who has those views might also be better, and I might be able
mhm.
to convince them more of my views because I know
Yes.
their reasoning behind it. Otherwise, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make sense. But that's not going to convince neither them nor me.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So, yeah.
Wow. You just put a lot of fire right there. That or great fire. That was so spot on. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You're finding ways to see the opposite so that you can even really just understand your own better. And you could be wrong, 100%. Because
Yeah.
the same thing with them. If you think they're wrong, what's to say that in a similar arena or similar field of thought that you're not in a similar position, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that takes humility or being humble, but you're saying as well, seeing that you can strengthen your own perspective. So like something
Yeah.
for me that I try to do, and I know you are as well with veganism, we see ways that like I watched a very just an anti-vegan documentary. I thought, okay, let's see what they have to say. I'm very
Hmm.
curious. And from that, you just learn and you see different perspectives. And I think maybe what people forget is, people in these different echo chambers and bubbles, or at least how I see it, is that I don't think they're bad people. And people disagree with me on this for sure. But I don't think that really they're bad people. The way I see it is that, where fundamentally we're good people with very good intentions. However, we have bad information that's leading us to do
Hmm.
bad things. And
Yeah,
that's really how I think it
100%.
resonates. And how much culpability can we put on someone for doing something evil or bad,
Yeah,
uh, similar to the banality of evil, right? That we read in that course.
yeah,
No,
one 100%.
it's a very big challenge, very big
Yeah,
challenge. And I want to also emphasize the movie they recommended, Schindler's List.
yeah, it's a
Wow,
good one.
I mean, yeah,
Such a good movie.
that's such a great, 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 great
Yeah.
movie. Liam Neeson absolutely rocks it. And I mean, you remember the closing scene, yeah, of course, where
Hmm.
he's by the car and he goes, I could have sold this. What do
Yeah.
you think? Okay, so whoever hasn't watched that, basically, long story short, I mean, maybe you want to give the description, a quick synopsis of the film, because
No,
I want to I want to
you
touch
go
on
ahead.
it.
You go ahead.
Yeah,
You go ahead.
yeah. So basically, Schindler, I forget his first name. He
Oscar.
basically, what's his name? First one?
Oscar.
Oscar. Okay, Oscar
Yes.
Schindler. Yeah, basically, he's within this concentration camp. He's in the ranks of the officials who are there, or like he knows them very well, and he's able to save so many of their lives and protect them. He's not
Y-
an official. He was a
No,
banker,
no,
right?
he has a factory. Forgot
Oh,
what
and it was
factory.
a laboring. Yeah.
Clothing maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he had a lot of Jewish employees, and he was
That's
able to save so many of
yeah.
them through having them employed there as well.
Yes, and he
Yeah.
would. Yeah, that's so right. He would advocate for them, and he was connecting with them, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, just towards the end, when it's basically finished, like they're liberated, and I think 45 it was. Um, he has this scene where I think he's about to leave on his car, and he goes like, "Wait, but I could have sold this. I could have. This could have been like 10 more people, 20 more
Yeah.
people,
I know.
40. Ah,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you take from that? Because that's such a powerful scene, and I mean, personally, I cry every time I see that because you
Yeah.
see someone who one was just so brave and did so much, but even after doing so much, maybe I don't know if it's not survivor's guilt, but still has so much guilt in him that he could have done more. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you did so much, but maybe he
And
could have done more. Maybe he could have done more.
that,
Maybe.
that's so fascinating, especially if you look at especially World War II, I guess there are so many people who've done so much, and you read these stories of how they saved hundreds, thousands of people, and most of them after the war, if they survived, they said, "Well, I think I could have done more, and I could have done this differently." And I'm like, "You did something. How many people
Mm,
didn't?" And what will we do in this situation? And they put their lives, their families' lives at risk, and to see them still being like, "I could have done more," it's just, some people are just out of this world, I guess, like in the way they live for other people. And I think
mm,
some of us could probably use a little bit more of this.
mm,
And
okay.
yeah, it's just like
Mm.
people like Schindler and so many other people, especially during that time, are just so admirable because they've done so much.
Right. Yeah, and their ability to do so much when I mean, I don't know about his situation, but because I don't think his life was on the I mean, sure his life was on the line, but it was different in some aspects where there were other people who would harbor and protect Jews, and
Yeah,
then they would end up like the Jews would leave, and then they would get killed, or like
yeah,
I mean, so yeah, it's regardless, it's so much bravery and just incredible. Look, yeah, great movie recommendations. Boy with the Striped Pajamas, definitely easier to watch when you're younger. So if there's younger listeners,
um,
yeah, well, not
yeah,
easier. I mean,
yeah. I guess,
easier than
yeah,
Schindler's List. Easier than Schindler's List.
for sure. And it's, I
Yeah.
guess, when you're a little bit younger, yeah, it's more, I guess, even more heartbreaking when you're older because you really know what's going on, like, fully. And
Oh,
if you're
like you have the
younger, you
context.
might
Yeah.
not see everything or understand
Mm,
everything. So,
mm,
yeah,
mm, mm. Yeah, you're understanding like the context, the nuance, the history.
yeah,
Because when we were younger, at least in eighth grade, I was saying, "Oh my gosh, what? These people are just so crazy and sick." Then you
yeah,
understand sort of how that happened, how that came to be. Doesn't make it any
yeah,
more excusable. Just you understand it, and then you can even try to see, okay, how did we get from point A to point B? What happened in the
hmm,
middle? Let's nip that in the bud as much as we
yeah.
can. So yeah, and what was the podcast recommendation you had? Forgot the name
Oh,
of it.
that was just the general like listening to a bunch of podcasts
Oh,
if you
it's
don't
just a
have time to
handful.
like watch the news.
Yeah.
There are way too many podcasts I listen
Oh
to.
man. Yeah.
But yeah, if you have time, any
Are,
podcasts probably
are
do.
there a couple you can recommend just so people can get started? If let's say if they want,
I,
yeah, let's say maybe to something like LGBTQ, or
yeah.
maybe something just informative, something with that.
Because I listen to so many podcasts, I kind of divide them into the different topics that I'm really interested in. So you've
Mm,
got the LGBTQ plus part, you've got veganism podcasts that I'm very
mm,
into, general news podcasts, and then just
mm.
also, I guess, mental health, that kind of stuff. And there's this one that I really, so for news, for example, if you're interested in LGBTQ plus news, there's The Frontline, which is a
The
good
front line.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then, or a funny one would be I Can Explain, which is just really hilarious. Like it
Hmm.
brightens up the mood. Like it's not news or anything. It's just really fun.
Okay.
But then I really enjoy I Weigh with Jamila Jamil. I don't know if you know the
How do I
actress.
know that name?
She's from the Good Place. I don't know if you've seen the TV
Oh
show.
yeah, yeah. Like the
Yeah,
taller actress who's like very all into herself.
Tahani. Yeah,
Tahani. Oh, it's funny.
yeah.
I always call her Tahini. Like the
Like, yeah.
wow,
It's
yeah, the good place. Yeah, she's awesome. Cool.
and she has this amazing podcast, or she started this entire movement called I Weigh, which
I weigh
deals
like
with
the letter
like
I
I
W.
weigh, like yeah, like the weight, like your weight, your body
Oh, I
weight, I guess.
wait. Oh, like
Yeah.
oh, cool.
So
Cool. Hmm.
WEIGH, yes.
Yes.
And because she started this movement because she suffered with an eating disorder for like most of her adult life, and whenever like you open the news, or I guess like they talk especially about celebrities, they talk about like
Mm,
for the women, like how much do they weigh, and kind of society bases someone's worth on what they, yeah, what the number on a scale is, for especially for women. I mean, also for a lot of men, but
mm,
it's mostly women, I guess.
yeah.
And it's like young girls. It starts so young, and so she started this movement where she asks people to say what they weigh, but not a number. Like, for example, I weigh my friendships, my loyalty, my
Oh.
education, my creativity, like all these kind of things that make you you and that make you a good and lovable and valuable person, that have
Mm,
nothing to do with the way you look, or because that
mm,
doesn't say anything about you, right? And so she's has this big movement now, and she's also done like, they got like Instagram to block like diet drink ads for, like they don't show up on teenagers Instagram pages anymore, like these ads like drink this shake and lose 20 pounds in a week, that kind of stuff. So they got
mm,
that blocked. Like they do a lot of great things, and she has this podcast as well, where she has a bunch of great people on. They talk about mental health struggles, about politics, about
mm.
everything. So there's everything. Like there's something for everyone.
Excellent. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that. Wow. I
yeah.
wait. Like I
I
W
weigh, yeah.
E I G H T. Hmm.
Oh, without the T at the end. I weigh,
Oh,
just
I weigh,
I
like
weigh.
you're weighing
Yeah,
something. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, what an incredible concept. Look to weigh not just like a physical, let's say, objective kind of measurement
yeah.
or object, whatever it is, but other components and aspects of your life that do hold so much more weight,
Exactly. Yeah,
right? Like your character, friendships, relationships,
yeah.
books, experiences. Wow. I
Exactly.
mean,
It's
I'm
really
literally I'm gonna
great.
check that out today.
Yeah, it's
Excited.
I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to listen. And the episodes aren't too long now. I don't know, like 40 minutes long, and
Okay. Yeah.
most of them are very like, they a lot of like funny, and
Right.
some are very serious, but it's topics about everything, and it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent. No, I can already think of a handful of people who are gonna love this. So I'll send them this
yeah,
one and to hear it. No, it's I mean it's incredibly important. Is she part of the LGBTQ plus community or
yeah. I think she identifies as bisexual or pansexual,
okay.
but
Yeah.
she's definitely queer. I'm not entirely sure
Okay.
how
Okay.
she identifies at the moment. Yeah,
Okay. Yes. I mean, it's just so different seeing like I mean, one, the good place, and then the different characters, and
yeah,
I mean, I know Kristen Bell. She is pretty
yeah,
similar. Like she in real life, from what I see, she's pretty similar that with what she is in the show.
yeah.
It's just like consistency. Okay, incredible. I mean, look, great recommendations. I love the movies are awesome. The books are great, but that podcast really just it's
Yeah,
so
it's
needed
so good.
as well. Right?
Yeah.
especially with, I
100%.
mean, just how, yeah, just with the rise of social media. And I mean, it's insane now seeing, let's just say Instagram or wherever, that there's now like 14-year-olds who look like they're 25 or something.
Yeah,
And that exists. Like that is out there. That
I
that
know.
100% is out there. And what's going on?
I
Um,
know.
what's going on? Like what?
Yeah.
I
And they
mean,
just start
yeah,
comparing each other so young now, like because we didn't have phones when we were
that's
in
true
like
too. Yeah,
that
different.
young,
Yeah.
and now they start comparing each other to millions of people online when they're even still in elementary school. And I'm like, why?
Well, what's incredible that happens is, let's say if there's a class of 200 in, how old is 14? Like eighth grade or seventh grade, eighth grade. And then, I mean, there's a competition for likes because you get more likes, you get more traffic, there's more social capital, and then you eventually get that elusive little blue check mark, right? With a little
Hmm.
thing. And then you get that, and now you're someone. Now you're someone who matters.
Yeah,
I just listened.
yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe that this was something that had happened. There was this football player who like retired. I mean, I think he's in his 40s or 50s, and he's coaching, or he's like coaching this college team, and he brings in this very popular influencer, this lady, and the lady, like, I listened to a little bit of it. I mean, he did it to like kind of warn him of the dangers of dating online with, let's say, dating women with within social media and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But one thing that she was saying was that, like, one of her key arguments was, in life, she gets everything. I mean, she has like millions of followers, all this stuff. She gets so many advantages, gets so many things for free, exclusive access. And when she sees people message her, unless they have a blue mark, she doesn't respond or doesn't care about them. And I'm thinking, what? Now hold on.
Hmm.
What kind of messages are we putting out here? Because then if
Yeah,
you don't get to that point, especially if you're a younger girl who statistically within the past 10 years have the highest rates of, I believe it's suicide or something with mental health. They've just been absolutely
but
destroyed,
yeah,
just rocked. It's very alarming. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, so
if you look at the numbers of like especially the young girls with eating disorders nowadays, like it's always been so bad, but it's just getting worse because yeah, you don't just compare yourself to people in your school anymore. You compare yourself to everyone online who just uses
100%.
filters and just shows the best part, like show the best part of their day and not
Yes.
what they're actually going through.
Oh man. Yeah, so we could do a whole nother episode on that. But
Yeah,
just really, as you're talking, it's the main premise. Yeah, I mean, and also what are your circumstances versus someone else's? And what
yeah,
if someone is just a better picture taker? Seriously.
yeah,
And what if someone was just born with some different kind of physical trait that the
yeah,
market, which the society values at that time, and then they get elevated so much, and then right off the bat, oh, that's the valuable person. Oh, we
yeah,
should weigh their their physical achievements or anything like that instead
yeah,
of, like you're saying, Becky, with the other components of life that we should really weigh. But that's
yeah.
just so exciting. Well, yeah, we've definitely gone in, and we can do way more. I want to ask Miss Becky, what's
What's
next for you?
next?
Could be what's the next country? What's I
I
mean,
don't know.
at this point, maybe next planet. I mean, I don't even know what's going on here. You're everywhere. Next,
I
the next moves. What's next in Becky's life?
think I'm gonna stick around on this planet for a little while longer.
There we go.
But country, I don't know. It depends on how the situation is going with COVID, I suppose. But yeah,
Mm.
no, I'm going back to. So I'm staying here for 2 more weeks and then going back to Dubai. And I'm gonna be in Dubai until like next year, end of next year
Mm.
for sure. And then so October next year or so, and then we'll see what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Where I'm gonna end up, don't know yet. Don't know if I'm staying in Dubai.
Yeah.
Don't know if I'm going somewhere else. So open to just
Mm.
living day by day, I guess.
There
But
we go. Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see where life takes us.
You'll be there for the new year, and I mean, I'm sure. Were you there for the last New Year?
Yes,
Oof,
yes.
amazing. Or
It was really great. We went to the beach. There were a couple friends there. We had lovely Lebanese buffet dinner, which was
oh,
fantastic.
mm.
I love my hummus.
Oh yeah,
And we saw the fireworks at the beach, and we saw the Burj Al Arab, that famous hotel,
yeah.
and
Wait, is it,
the
I
Palm
get
Jumeirah.
confused. Isn't that so? The the I'm gonna say it totally incorrect. The Burj Khalifa.
The Burj Khalifa is the tallest tower in the world. That's
Okay,
the
and then the one you
yeah.
just said that is the
The Burj
hotel.
Burj Al Arab is like the only seven-star hotel in the world. It's like it has
Really?
this
That many?
sail kind of shape. Yeah, it
Oh,
has.
I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's literally right
it's
by the beach, like on that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
and so we didn't see the firework at the Burj Khalifa because it's too far from where I live, and at night you just there's no way to getting back home.
Mm,
But we went to the beach close to where my apartment is, and we saw the fireworks from like the Palm Jumeirah, where the Atlantis Hotel is, the famous palm thing,
mm, mm.
and the Burj. So it was really fun.
Well, I mean, look, you're definitely living 2021 quite well. I'll say that. You're
Yeah,
you're you're
well,
you're, you're living it up.
we've gotten quite lucky in Dubai because the number's been quite low and
Yeah.
everyone's vaccinated, so things are like everything's pretty much open. So I
Yeah.
guess I'm very lucky living there at the moment. So
Mm.
yeah,
No, I mean, look, enjoy it, and like you said, you don't know where you'll be next, which is
yeah,
always exciting, and it really uh, emphasizes the need. Just enjoy where you're at. Like you're exactly where you
yeah,
need to be. You know,
yeah,
you're there. This is where life has brought you. You're a world traveler. I know you said you're staying on Earth, but I'm sure once the chance arises, you'll go to Mars.
I don't know.
No,
But
maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe
then
I'm
again,
wrong.
like I said, like live day by day because we can't like we've seen in the last 2 years, we can't really
Oh,
plan
wow.
what's going. Like I can't say what's going to be next year because we don't know.
Mm,
If anything has been made clear over the past 2 years, that's probably it.
mm.
So
That's so true. Yeah, one thing
yeah,
I've tried to emphasize with just friends, family, people saying, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna travel or do this maybe in a few years, couple of years," and not including COVID. I'm thinking, sure, but you don't know what's gonna come next. Like, you got to
yeah,
act. I mean, you keep
exactly.
waiting and putting stuff off. I mean,
Yeah,
then look, something like, I mean, COVID's once in a century, but who knows the next one and what's gonna happen in your life.
exactly.
Yeah. So
I
day
mean,
by day. Yeah.
yeah. People always ask me like, why do you keep going abroad, like for university or for whatnot? Why do you do that? And I'm like, well, if I don't do it while I can and while I'm young
Mm,
and like I'm not gonna decide to do another master's degree when I mean, maybe, but when I'm
yeah.
40, I'm not gonna probably not gonna be like, oh, let's go to Brazil to do a master's degree in something, that's not so likely
Mm,
to happen.
yeah.
So
That's
do it
right.
while you can.
Yeah, I would say, being Brazilian, you're more than welcome. Bem-vindo, you can come. But no, totally. It's like do it once when you can, and yeah, when you have the
Yeah,
energy, the youth, and all that.
yeah,
All right, totally excellent. I mean, I know you're in Germany now. You'll be back in
Dubai.
Dubai.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to get in contact or if they want to just see anything you've been up to or stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I am on Instagram, but my profile is private at the moment, and most of the time I don't accept people I don't really know well, unless I
Mm,
see they have like a bunch of like they're
mutual.
friends with friends of mine, and I know they're not some spam thing, then I might
Mm,
add them as well. But other than that, I'm actually pretty active on LinkedIn now.
mm,
Facebook I
okay.
don't use that much anymore, but LinkedIn is probably where I do the most now, and where people can see what I'm up to or message me if there's anything.
All right.
I guess. Yeah.
Sure. So then I'll put your LinkedIn there if you're all right with
Yeah.
that and to add it.
Sure.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So I mean, just sort of kind of wrapping up our convo here with well, this part I actually enjoy if I can pull it up. This section just to kind of before we conclude talking
Mhm.
about gratitude. Just want to thank you for. I'm just trying to get it on the screen, but it's not working. There we go. Okay, yeah, just like gratitude, Becky. Thanks for just being someone so open to different ideas and taking everything the world brings your way, and not just receiving, but also searching and going out for it, and also being so giving of your time, your energy, with being compassionate towards others, and really doing your best to get to the root of different concepts and trying to inform yourself so that you can be well educated, like you were saying before, so you can understand and seeking out information that doesn't make you necessarily feel like rainbows and butterflies, but that is important and crucial to not only understand others, but to also understand yourself even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thanks again for having me. It was really fun, and I enjoyed catching up with you, I guess, and I enjoy what you're doing
Absolutely.
because I really loved the previous episodes that you've done with like Bradley as well. It was really
Oh,
interesting.
excellent.
So
Yeah.
it's really nice. I'm looking forward to hearing more of our former
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, cohort people on
Yeah,
here.
no, for sure. Well, we have, I recorded with Corey.
Oh, that's
For
nice.
listeners, that's our director of our program. And yeah, there's a handful more lined up. And yeah, it's just nice having this banter and conversation, and having a source of like media. I guess this is media where there's, at least from what I perceive, different perspectives, different backgrounds, values that
Mhm.
we try to emulate and learn from. So this final part, Becky, just if you haven't heard the first episode, this part we always conclude with the nugget of wisdom to elevate like Zeus.
Mhm.
Zeus's story, son of Cronus and Rhea, viewed as a threat by Zeus, along with Zeus's siblings. Zeus or Cronus goes to eat all his children, but Rhea, Zeus's mother,
Mhm.
saves him, replaces Zeus with a stone, and Zeus, with so much potential, actually ends up living amongst everyday people and finds the courage, the ability to work his way up, return to Olympus, free his siblings, and become the great figure that he is. So, with this aspect of the nugget of wisdom, what is a nugget of wisdom that you want to leave listeners with that could help them in their journey from wherever they are, even if they're at the mountaintop or the bottom of the pit, to help elevate them and get the ball rolling?
I guess there are two things I would say. First of all, be unapologetically you, and like be yourself, be kind to yourself, not just to others, because there is only one you. And then also, like sometimes appreciate what you already have, take a step back, look at, because we always are looking for the next great thing, the next thing to do, the next adventure, the next whatever, and we forget that
Mm.
like we already have so much. And like I read it a while ago where someone was like, well, we constantly look for the next thing and we keep forgetting that our younger self was looking forward to where we are now. So we should live more in the moment and
Mm.
not just keep looking for what's out there again. Just appreciate what you have.
Excellent. So be you, unapologetically you, and appreciate what you have, and be able to live in the
Yeah.
moment. Wow,
Yeah.
excellent. So words of wisdom, Becky. I'd say, danke, danke very
Bitte.
much. Danke. That's all the German I know. But okay,
Perfect.
everyone, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Becky, thank you again. Just absolutely
Thank you.
incredible your story. And all right, until next time. See you
See
guys
you. Bye.
soon.